me to drive down to Centennial Olympic Park. And here I am trying to figure out what in the world am I going to the park for? It's Tuesday night. It's late. I'm ready to go home, you know. And I'm trying to, you know, how you be trying to rationalize it in your mind. And so it was just so strong. Go to Centennial Park. Told my wife, I said, well, fortunately that night we had driven separately. And so I told her, I said, well, you going home? I said, I got to run downtown for a minute. Going downtown, and I was trying to fix, you know, it's like I didn't know what I was going down there for. And you know how we are. You know, you're trying to tell your wife, but you want to make it sound like you know what you're doing. And so then she started looking at me, you're going downtown to meet who? I'm like, I ain't going to meet nobody. I don't even know where I'm going. You know, you going downtown this late? Okay? But I obeyed. We needed a miracle. The miracle I couldn't do myself. But in preparation for the miracle, God gave me an instruction. I got down to the park, watching little kids running in and out of the water and playing and just having a ball. Sat there for about 25, 30 minutes, you know, just waiting. Okay, God, I'm waiting on you to speak to me. Okay, you told me to come down here. You want me to come look at the kids? I mean, I don't know. Ironically, when I got ready to get up, Sister Matthews, I dropped my keys. And when I reached over to get my keys, I saw engraved bricks. And something quickened in my spirit. I was like, oh, whoa, yeah. And when you come in and when you get ready to leave today and just look out in the center, you see engraved bricks out there. But that idea, it came from a simple instruction. Go to the park. Just go to the park. And through those bricks, God allowed us to raise enough money to get this church built. To get our down payment, to do what we needed to do. From following a simple instruction. See, some of us, we get defeated because we're waiting on God to tell us something complicated. We try to obey him if he told us to drive a Lincoln Town car up Stone Mountain. We'd be out there just trying our best to get that car up a mountain. But most of it, he's not going to come like that because he knows you can't do that. He might tell you, give your Lincoln Town car away. Ooh, it got real quiet then. He'll tell you something that you may not want to do, but something that you're able to do. That's his system. Hallelujah. When you do what's possible, then God steps in and does what's impossible. One last thing about this, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about this man's and this father and this son. But I just like to give you a Bible, see, because people they'll think you're just talking. But you don't find anywhere where God told people to do something they couldn't do. Blind man, over in John chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. Write that down and read it when you get home. Jesus gave him a series of instructions. Jesus spat on the ground, made clay out of the spit, put that stuff on the man's eyes. That was one of those times where the man better have been glad he was blind and couldn't see what Jesus was doing. Because if he would have been able to see what Jesus was doing, he probably would not have allowed him to do it. See, a lot of times God blinds you because if you could see how he's going to work your situation out, you wouldn't receive it. But he put this stuff on this man's eyes and gave him some instructions. Go wash in the pool of Siloam. Now, if the man had gone and washed that Jordan River, he would have stayed blind. If he'd have gone home and washed in his well, he would have stayed blind. But Jesus said, go wash in the pool of Siloam. And the word Siloam, by interpretations, means sent. In other words, your blessing is when you follow God's system. Go where you have been sent. Go where he sends you. Do what he has instructed you to do. And as a result of the man obeying a simple instruction, he came away seeing. Joshua, over in the book of Joshua chapter 6, verses 1 through 5, and then going down to even verse 24, Joshua was leading the children of Israel, and they needed this gigantic wall to fall around Jericho so that they could inhabit the city called Jericho. There was no logical way to get that wall down unless you were going to knock it down and chisel it down. But God gave Joshua some instructions. He says, for 6 days, I want you and the children of Israel to just walk around the wall one time a day for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, he said, I'm going to give you 6 days to build up your stamina, to try to get yourself in shape. On the 7th day, I want you to walk around it 7 times. Now, can you imagine those folks out there hiking, walking in a circle? Can you imagine the complaints? Can you imagine how they were fussing at Joshua? Man, you got us on a wild goose chase. We're just going around in circles. I remember this spot. We've already been here. But when they obeyed him and walked around that 7th time and start blowing trumpets, making the noise, the wall came down. Because God didn't tell them to knock the wall down. He just told them to walk. 12 apostles over in Luke chapter 9, verses 12 through 17. So I'm talking about obedience today. Luke chapter 9, verses 12 through 17, you'll find where there were many people there who needed to do a whole lot of stuff. But this man here in our text began to look and see that if I can just get the food to Jesus, if I could just get it to him, if I could just bring it to him, let him bless it. Let him break it. Let him give it. I think everything is going to be all right. They asked, was there any food? A little boy volunteered his lunch, gave it to the people. People gave it to Jesus. He blessed it, did what he did. But then he gave the disciples some instructions. He said, arrange the people in companies of 50. Companies of 50. Let me hear you say 50. Now, without fail, some of us would have messed up the miracle. Because if we had gotten to 50 and your girlfriend was in another group, no, I'm going over here. No, man, I'm going over here with my woman. So you would have been 51, and then this one would have been 49, and the miracle wouldn't have worked. I mean, because we can't follow instructions. So it's so funny. Some Sundays, I'll just ask everyone to stand that's physically able to stand, and young folk. You're like, wow. And they'll wonder why they can't be blessed. They'll wonder why they can't prosper. Because just a simple directive, just stand. It shows that you're faithless, because obedience is the evidence of faith. They brought it to him. He blessed it. He broke it. He distributed it to the disciples. The disciples gave it to people. They followed a system. And then after everyone had eaten, then Jesus told the disciples, now he gave them another instruction. Go gather up the fragments so that nothing will be lost. There were 12 disciples. he allowed them to take up 12 baskets. So his system shows you that even when you do for others, God will always make sure that